Should you rent or should you buy a home? It is one of the most debated financial questions of our generation, and the answer most people were given by their parents, by society, by every financial advisor they ever met was almost always the same. Buy. Always buy. Renting is throwing money away. Homeownership is the dream. But that one-size-fits-all answer has quietly cost millions of people dearly. Today we look at this honestly, with real math. Without emotional baggage, by the end of this video, you will have a clear framework for making this decision based on your specific situation, not on what society expects. Let us get into it. Let us start by destroying the most persistent myth in personal finance, the idea that renting is throwing money away. Every rent dollar disappears. At least with a mortgage, you are building equity. You have heard this your entire life. Here's what that argument leaves out. When you own a home, you pay far more than just the mortgage. Property taxes, every year, thousands of dollars. Gone when you sell. Home insurance, every year, gone. Maintenance and repairs, 1 to 2% of home value per year. On a $300,000 home, that is $3,000 to $6,000 annually, gone. And in the early years of a 30-year mortgage, most of your payment is interest, not equity, gone. A large portion of home ownership costs also disappear and never come back. Renting is paying for housing, so is owning, just in more ways than most people realize. Before you can make this decision intelligently, you need to understand the full real cost of buying a home. Most people calculate affordability using only the monthly mortgage payment, but the mortgage is just one of many costs. Upfront costs first, down payment, typically 3 to 20% of the purchase price. Closing costs, 2 to 5%. On a $300,000 home, you need $15,000 to $75,000 just to get started. Then ongoing monthly costs beyond the mortgage. Property taxes divided by 12. Insurance. Mortgage insurance if applicable. HOA fees. Monthly maintenance reserve. Budget 1% of home value per year for maintenance. On a $300,000 home, $250 every single month set aside. Then the large irregular expenses. Roof replacement, $8,000 to $15,000. HVAC, $3,000 to $10,000. These happen. They fall entirely on you. Clear eyes about costs is not scary. It is necessary. Now let us be equally honest about the real costs of renting. The obvious cost is monthly rent. Straightforward. You pay, you have a place to live. But real limitations exist. Rent increases. Your rent is not fixed. A landlord can raise it significantly when your lease renews. Lack of stability. A landlord can sell, move in themselves, or not renew your lease. Forced moves are disruptive and expensive. No equity building in the housing asset itself. Your housing cost is purely a cost of living. Long-term rent increases can make renting significantly more expensive over decades in markets where you plan to stay. And for many people, the lack of permanence creates genuine psychological stress that affects quality of life. These costs are real. An honest analysis includes all of them. Here's the concept that should sit at the center of your decision: the break-even point. The break-even point is the number of years you need to stay in a home before buying becomes mathematically better than renting in your specific market. Buying has enormous upfront costs. Down payment, closing costs. These need to be recouped before buying beats renting financially. Buy and sell in 2 years. Transaction costs alone make renting far better for those 2 years. Buy and stay 10 or 15 years. Costs amortize, equity builds, and the locked mortgage becomes increasingly valuable as rents rise around you. In most American cities, the break-even point sits between 3 and 7 years. Fewer than 5 years planned stay. Renting is almost always smarter financially. 7 years or more planned stay. Buying typically makes stronger financial sense. The single most important question is not, can I afford the mortgage payment? It is, how long am I actually planning to stay? Here's the concept almost nobody factors in. And it changes the math significantly. Opportunity cost. When you buy a home, you tie up a large amount of capital in the down payment. On a $300,000 home at 20% down, $60,000 goes into the home. What would that $60,000 have done invested in the stock market instead? Historically, the market returns approximately 10% per year over long periods. $60,000 invested for 20 years at 10% grows to approximately $400,000. That is the opportunity cost of the down payment, and almost nobody includes it in their calculation. If your home appreciates at 4% annually, a reasonable historical average, your $300,000 home reaches $650,000 after 20 years. Minus 20 years of taxes, insurance, maintenance, and interest, the actual net return is often much lower than expected. The renter who invested that down payment and the monthly savings from lower housing costs may have built comparable wealth. This is not an argument against buying. It is an argument for doing the honest math. After all that honest examination, let me tell you clearly when buying makes strong financial sense. Because it absolutely can. For many people, it is the right choice. Buying makes strong sense when you plan to stay in the same location for 7 or more years. The longer you stay, the more the upfront costs are amortized and the more appreciation benefits you. Buying makes sense when your local market has a favorable price to rent ratio. Below 15, buying is generally advantageous. Above 20, renting is often smarter. Buying makes sense when you can truly afford the full cost of homeownership. 20% down payment ready, 6 months of home expenses in reserves, total housing costs below 30% of gross income. Buying makes sense when it aligns with genuine long-term life plans, committed relationship, children, deep community roots, long-term career stability. When all of these align, buy with confidence. And just as clearly, when renting makes the stronger financial choice. Renting makes strong sense when you are in an early or transitional career stage. If you may need to move for opportunities in the next 3 to 5 years, renting preserves your mobility. Buying and selling quickly is enormously expensive. Renting makes sense in markets with extremely high price to rent ratios. In cities like San Francisco, New York, and Los Angeles, buying a comparable property costs dramatically more than renting one. Renting and investing, the difference often wins. Renting makes sense when your financial foundation is not yet strong enough. No substantial down payment, insufficient emergency fund, variable income, and renting makes sense as a strategic financial choice, even for people who could afford to buy. When investing that capital generates better returns in their specific situation, renting is not a failure. In many situations, it is the financially sophisticated choice. Let me give you a concrete framework for whether you can truly afford to buy. The rule financial experts most commonly use is this: your total housing costs, mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and maintenance reserve should not exceed 30% of your gross monthly income. Not just the mortgage, the total monthly cost of owning $5,000 gross monthly income, maximum $1,500 total housing costs. Many people stretch far beyond this because they are told buying is always better. They buy where housing consumes 40 or 50% of income. They become house poor, unable to invest, unable to save, one expense away from financial stress. House poor is one of the most common and painful financial mistakes. It almost always happens because someone bought based on the maximum the bank would lend rather than what they could genuinely afford. The bank approves more than you should borrow. You decide what you can actually afford. Know your 30% number. Stay within it. If you want to buy but are not yet in position to do so wisely, here is the smart path. Step 1. Eliminate all high-interest debt first. Carrying credit card debt while saving for a house is mathematically backward. Step 2. Build a fully funded emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses, before saving for the down payment. Without it, one home emergency piles debt on top of your mortgage. Step 3. Save for at least 10% down and ideally 20%. 20% eliminates private mortgage insurance and meaningfully reduces your monthly costs. Step 4. Build your credit score as high as possible. The difference between a good and excellent score over 30 years can mean tens of thousands of dollars in total interest paid. Step 5. Save closing costs separately from your down payment. 2 to 5% of purchase price. Most first-time buyers are caught off guard by this. Step 6. Maintain 6 months of mortgage plus maintenance reserves after closing. The path takes time. Buying from this position is a completely different experience. Here's a practical decision framework for your specific situation right now. Ask yourself these 6 questions honestly. 1. How long do I realistically plan to stay in this location? Under 5 years? Rent. 7 or more? Buying deserves serious consideration. 2. What is the price to rent ratio in my specific market? Below 15? Buying favorable. Above 20? Renting often better. 3. Can I afford the full cost of homeownership while keeping total housing below 30% of gross income with an adequate emergency fund? 4. Do I have at least 10 and ideally 20% down saved, plus separate closing costs and post-purchase reserves? 5. How stable is my income and life situation? Variable income and possible relocations favor renting. Stable employment and rooted community favor buying. 6. What does the actual math say when I honestly compare total cost of buying versus renting and investing the difference over my real-time horizon? Most questions pointing toward buying. Buying is likely right for you now. Most pointing toward renting. Renting is the stronger financial choice at this stage. Your situation gives you the answer. Rent versus buy. One of the most significant financial decisions of your life. Renting is not throwing money away. Both are paying for housing in different ways with different trade-offs. The most important question is how long you plan to stay. Time horizon changes everything. Buying is right when you have the foundation, the time horizon, and the honest math supporting it. Renting is right when you value mobility, your market ratio is unfavorable, or your foundation needs more time. Whatever you decide, make it with clarity, with honest math, without the weight of what others think. If this gave you some real clarity on one of the biggest financial decisions of your life, subscribe. I share simple financial truths they never taught us in school. See you in the next one.